to the flag of the
Flag,
United States
United States of America, and to the republic,
for which it stands,
one nation, under God,
with liberty
indivisible,
and justice for all.
justice for all.
Okay. So welcome to the March 15, 2021 meeting of the Town of Dover Planning Board. Today's meeting has been convened in accordance with the Governor's March 13, 2020 Executive Order 202.1, which dispenses certain provisions of the open meeting law to allow municipal board to convene a meeting via video conferencing. In accordance with the executive order, the public has been provided with the ability to view the meeting, and a transcript will be provided at a later date. I've confirmed that this meeting has been duly noticed. We have fulfilled our legal notice requirements by posting notice at Town Hall, providing notice of the meeting to local news organizations, and posting notice to the town's website. All right, so we have a public hearing for Savary East over Furnace Road. I'll need a motion to continue that public hearing. I'll make the motion, seconded by
Pete.
Member Villano. If the clerk will call the roll for opening this public hearing, please. Aye. I'm on mute.
Aye.
I can
Sorry
call the
about
roll.
that. Member Morosky,
Aye.
Member Roman,
Aye.
Member Milano,
Aye.
Member Williams.
Aye.
All right, this public hearing is now open and continued from March 1st. If the applicant or consultant would like to speak briefly.
Yes, I would. Good evening, Chairman and Planning Board members. Again, Peter Sander from Runny Engineering. Presenting the Savary site plan project yet again. The applicant is proposing to construct a 4,480 square foot contractor yard / office on a 9.052 acre parcel located within the CO Commercial Zoning District. The project includes an approved SES that was approved for the site's previous development, as well as an aggregate storage bin, 10 parking spaces, stormwater wet detention pond, and a DCDPW driveway that was installed per their recommendations. Again, this represents smaller development that was previously approved for the site with two 20,000 square foot buildings previously approved. So again, we would like to open this project up to a public hearing, and I look forward to hearing any public comments.
Thank you, Mr. Sander. So at this time, any member of the public wishing to make a comment, ask a question regarding Savary East, Dover Furnace Road may do so at this time. All right. Hearing no one from the public speaking, make a motion to close this public hearing. Motion made by myself, seconded by
Second.
Member Roman. All those in favor of closing the public hearing, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. All right, this public hearing is now closed. I'll move on to reading a resolution. Resolution to grant site plan, architectural review board, and special use permit approvals for Plum Hill / Savary East Family Farm site plan. Whereas the applicant Savary East Family Farm, Inc. has submitted an application for site plan, special use permit, and architectural review board approvals to construct an approximately 4,480 square foot structure containing an office and a storage area for an excavation and septic pumping company, also known as the project, at property located on Dover Furnace Road, identified as tax parcel number 7061-00-369979, also known as the property, in the CO zoning district and floodplain and stream corridor overlay districts. And whereas the project is depicted on a site plan entitled Savary's Family Farm, Inc., prepared by Rennie Engineering Design, PLLC, dated October 26, 2020, last revised January 13, 2021, and building elevations entitled Savary's Family Farm, Inc., New Utility Barn, prepared by Rennie Engineering Design, PLLC, dated January 13, 2021, also known as the site plan set. And whereas service businesses not listed elsewhere in the Town of Dover schedule of land use regulations are permitted in the CO district subject to special permit. And whereas on November 16th, 2009, the planning board adopted a negative declaration for a prior iteration of the project pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, finding that the project will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. And whereas the current project is reduced in size and scope from the one reviewed in 2009, and whereas all work proposed under the erosion sediment control permit for the 2009 project has been completed with no further grading or site disturbance work proposed, and whereas the applicant has submitted a short environmental assessment form, also known as an EAF, for the project, undated, pursuant to SECRA, and whereas on December 21st, 2020, the planning board classified the project as an unlisted action under SECRA and determined to conduct an uncoordinated review. And whereas the planning board has reviewed the EAF and application materials, thoroughly analyzed all information regarding relevant areas of environmental concern, and considered the criteria contained in 6 NYCRR subsection 617.7. And whereas there have been no significant changes in the surrounding area since 2009 that would result in any potentially significant adverse impacts different from those reviewed in 2009. And whereas pursuant to section 239-M of the General Municipal Law, the project was referred to the Dutchess County Department of Planning and Development on February 10, 2021, which did not provide a response within 30 days of said referral. And whereas a duly noticed public hearing was opened on March 1st, 2021 and closed on March 15th, 2021 during remote meetings held by the planning board in accordance with New York State Governor Cuomo's Executive Order 202.1 and the subsequent extensions thereof, during which all those who wished to speak were heard. Now therefore be it resolved that the planning board makes the following findings pursuant to section 145-63 of the town code. 1, the project complies with all land use district, overlay district, and other specific requirements of the zoning law and other local laws and regulations, and will be consistent with the purposes of the zoning law and the applicable zoning districts. The project is permitted by special permit in the district and will have less of an impact than the previous approved development for the property. The nature of the project is consistent with the nearby non-residential uses in the area. 2, the project will not result in excessive off-premise noise, dust, odors, solid waste, or glare, or create any public or private nuisances. 3, the project will not cause significant traffic congestion, impair pedestrian safety, or overload existing roads. 4, the project will be accessible to fire, police, and other emergency vehicles. A commercial driveway entrance on County Route 26 will provide adequate access for emergency vehicles. 5, the project will not overload any public water, drainage, or sewer system, or any other municipal facility. Private water and septic systems are proposed. 6, the project will not materially degrade any water course or other natural resource or ecosystem or endanger the water quality of an aquifer. The property contains wetlands, but measures to protect the wetlands were previously implemented for the site work completed on the erosion sediment control permit for the 2009 project. No further grading or site disturbance work is needed to prepare the site for the current project. Stormwater management measures have been incorporated into the project. Number 7, the project will be suitable for the property on which it is proposed, considering the property's size, location, topography, vegetation, soils, natural habitat, and hydrology, and its ability to be buffered or screened from neighboring properties and public roads. The proposed new structure is set back significantly from the road and is bordered on one side by the railroad. 8, the project will be subject to such conditions on operation, design, and layout of structures and provision of buffer areas as may be necessary to ensure compatibility with surrounding uses and to protect the natural, historic, and scenic resources of the town. 9, the project will be consistent with the goal of concentrating retail uses in hamlets that need that meet the needs of its residents. The property is not a retail use, nor is it in a hamlet. 10, the project will not adversely affect the availability of affordable housing in the town. 11, the project has been designed to comply with applicable site plan criteria. Be it further resolved that the planning board hereby reaffirms the negative declaration adopted on November 16, 2009, finding that there are no potential significant adverse impacts related to the project and that a draft environmental impact statement will not be prepared. Be it further resolved that the planning board hereby grants site plan, special use permit, and architectural review board approval to the project as depicted on the site plan set and authorizes the chair or his authorized designee to sign the site plan set after compliance with the following conditions. 1, payment of all fees and escrow. 2, Dutchess County Department of Behavioral and Community Health approval for the methods of water supply and sewage disposal. And 3, acknowledgement that any proposed disturbance in excess of the thresholds in Chapter 65 of the Town Code will require a new erosion and sediment control permit. This resolution is being offered by myself, seconded by
Second.
Member Villano. Discussion. All right. Seeing as there is no discussion, of the secretary, call the roll, please.
Member Corteen,
Aye.
Member LaRobier,
Aye.
Member Morosky,
Aye.
Member Valano,
Aye.
Member Williams,
Aye.
Roman?
Member Roman has left the meeting.
Oh,
Okay,
All right. So the vote is 5 ayes, 0 nays, and 2 absent. The resolution is thereupon adopted.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you, board members. I really appreciate it.
Sander?
Only one request. Can I get a draft copy of the resolution sent to me before while you guys work to get it signed?
That should be fine.
Perfect. All right.
Again,
Thank you, everyone.
It's not official
now.
until it's signed, but
Of course. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice
Thanks.
evening.
you too.
okay, Peter.
All right, next, under old business, we have Dover One LLC. This is located at 34 North Nelly Hill Road, Dover Plains, New York, 12522. Members of the planning board and consultants met with the consultant for the project on the property. That would be Saturday, would have been Saturday, March 6th, I believe.
Yes, correct.
Hildebrand, I see that you're here. So if you'd like to begin, Mr. Hildebrand, and then we'll. continue.
Sure. For the record, Brian Hildenbrand, representing Conley Engineering. And we haven't resubmitted, just the timing of getting the package revised. But we're going to revise the plans based on the consultant memos and any comments heard by the board at the site walk. I think they were all well received by the owner, so we have no problem getting you a revised plan for next meeting.
And are you or one of our consultants able to put the plan up on the screen for everyone to see? So we can just
Sure.
discuss some of the things that were discussed at the site plan, so
Yep.
it becomes part of this meeting.
Gotcha. Okay. Is my screen up?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay.
So again, this is to rectify a situation where there is water that is collecting at the northern edge of your property and also north of your property, impacting on other properties, and to build a drainage ditch that you can see goes down and to the left.
Right, yes, the plan is to abandon the existing pipe that is there and pick up the stream as far north as we can on our property. As discussed out in the field, the geometry and the alignment of the new channel will straighten out a bit, just to more catch the natural bend in the stream. The channel will traverse the entire property and connect still on our property at the point in Stone Church Brook here. And it was discussed that instead of hitting it in this angle to more approach the connection to match the alignment of the existing stream, just so
Right.
it's more of a gentle flow rather than an abrupt entry. Other changes that we're going to make is we're going to plug the existing pipe to prevent any further water from entering. And then also in certain areas, remove the pipe and add gravel. This way, if there has been historical septic issues, so if that septic, which is installed above the pipe, ever enters the pipe, it will infiltrate prior to being discharged to the surface water. And another change we are making is this existing drainage in the parking lot. We're going to modify and collect in this structure and then install a new pipe to our new channel, just to prevent any storm water from entering that pipe further. Those were the major changes. Again, once we will have a revised plan for the next meeting, we'll make the submission deadline, and we will be submitting a site plan application for as far as process goes.
Thank you, Mr. Hildebrand. Can you go to where the swale will meet up with the Stone Church Brook? Well, so yeah, when we did this site walk, my observation was that the channel was going to be approaching the brook at what seemed like a potentially a strange angle, and that there's a potential for a lot of the water coming down on the brook, down being from west to east, left to right on the drawing. That water could potentially go up the swale ditch, which would obviously, I think, defeat the purpose of doing a lot of this. So it was to have the swale be more to the left, more westward, and then come in at an angle that continues with the flow that you see down into the right, as before the water goes underneath the railroad tracks. So you think you'll have a new drawing for that?
Yes.
By which deadline?
I'll check the dates, but it was anticipated to get on the next planning board meeting. So whatever that deadline is, we'll have it ready.
All right, my belief is that the deadline would be this Friday for the next planning board meeting,
Okay.
which would be April 6th.
Yep. Fair enough.
And then at the northern end of the swale, there's a well-traveled pathway that this swale would then impact. A lot of people who I believe live in those apartments and maybe in the surrounding area walk that pathway to get to Route 22 and all the different commercial buildings over there. So we also discussed having some kind of bridge or something that would allow people to continue to follow that path. Have you discussed that with your client?
We have discussed it. A final answer has not been given to us yet, but we're going to give some options of, different temporary, or not temporary, but walkable structures that can be installed. We just need to come up with a cost-effective solution.
Thank you, Mr. Hildebrand. That's
Okay.
all the comments and questions I have at this time. We'll go through the members and then we'll go through the consultants. Member Villano?
No comments at this time.
Thank you, Member Villano. Member Morosky?
No comments right now.
Thank you, Member Morosky. Member Williams?
No comments at this time.
Thank you, Member Williams. Did Member Roman come back? No? All right, Member Robadier,
No comments.
thank you. We'll start with our engineer, Engineer Berger.
Okay, basically you covered all the comments I had, and the engineer responded that we need the stream realigned at the exit, and we need to look at the entrance as the water goes in to make sure it comes in. One of the things I discussed with the applicant's engineer is to also look at the flood elevation of the water going downstream and then make sure it doesn't back water all the way up into the yards. As now we're connecting it with a larger swale, which would allow more water to backflow if it's not controlled properly. I think it's doable. I think the engineer will be able to show us in his next submission that the new alignment and the layout and the size of the swale is such that the water will flow completely downstream without backing up or impacting the upstream. The goal is not only to pass the water through this property as it did before through the pipe, but to prevent flooding or backflow onto the property to the north, which it currently does. The current pipe is not only undersized probably, but backs up and plugs very often, causing larger backup of water on the neighboring properties to the north. So I believe the engineer is working on these things for our next submission. That's my comments.
Thank you, Engineer Berger. Planner Werner.
Hi. Yeah, I was at the sidewalk and I agree with all the comments that were made. And, if it's feasible to do a crossing to allow folks to walk that path as they usually do now. And it's, feasible to do that, that sounds good. Just to note that, once we receive the site plan and it's acceptable, I think at that point we can officially circulate for SECRA. I think DEC will need to see this because they're involved agency due to the stream being under their jurisdiction to the south where this will run into. And then we can do the county referral as well. And also we have a contact at the railroad that Joe has that we can send this to make sure that they get to take a look at it also. That's all I had for now.
Thank you, Planner Werner. Attorney Polidoro.
Hi, good evening. Agree with all the prior comments. One question though, what is the Photoshop building?
Photoshop building?
Yeah, Brian, if you pull the plans down a little more, right there, it says the building is the Photoshop building. Do people live there?
I'm not sure if that exists, honestly.
I think that is a building.
Oh,
Hi, my name is Ron. I am the managing owner of the property. That Photoshop building doesn't exist anymore. It used to be, it's listed as a Photoshop building, but it was a house. And it was, we didn't like the house and we just took it down. We applied for the permits and we went through the process to take it down.
Thank you for
Okay.
the clarification.
So we should just probably have that removed.
yeah, that should come off the plans. And then was that septic field specifically for the house or is that still in use?
I'm sorry.
The SDS field that's to the left of the building, is that also abandoned?
No, I don't believe so. I think it's part of the long block building on the right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I was just confused about the use. So if it's no longer there,
Yeah.
thank you.
Attorney Polidoro, you're all set?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, having heard comments from our consultants, any other members of the planning board wish to make further comment or question at this time? Okay, So, Mr. Hildebrand, your plan is to have submissions before or by this Friday, March 19th, in time for our consultants and members to review for our Monday, April 6th meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the plan.
All right. I think then we're all set for Dover One LLC at this time.
May I ask a question?
Sure. Is the applicant? Go ahead.
Yes. I've owned this property for quite some time. And the pathway that is referred to go from my property to 22, there's a lot of people who walk that, and it is on private property. And my tenants have never felt comfortable about having people who don't live there walk through the property. I mean, they're having problems in the past. I installed cameras on the property because of people walking through it all the time and my tenants feeling insecure. But I'm not sure why. I would like to have that where it no longer exists. Why would it be that if it's private property, I have to supply a bridge or a walkway for people to go from North Nelly Hill Road to Route 22 on private property?
It's specifically for your tenants, and
Right,
we would welcome you possibly put up a sign that says, private property for tenant use only or something like that. But it is to accommodate your own tenants who are walking back and forth.
We saw it as an amenity to the tenants that reside on that property.
I have one gentleman who I know uses the property. He's been a long time tenant. Yeah, he's a little bit special. He's on Section 8, and he's a nice guy, and he's a pleasure to have. And honestly, he's the only one that ever uses that. Now, I mean, for one person, I would prefer to have it to avoid all the strangers using it than accommodate one person, to be honest with you.
We'll have to review the site plan. I believe the code, requires the board to look at pedestrian accessibility. So when you
Okay, that's fine. It's just something that I've had to deal with for a long time, including the security cameras. I put up the no trespassing signs. It really has no deterrent in any way. And again, I know that Mikey uses it, but he's the only tenant that I've ever had really that it does.
How many apartments do you have?
22.
Are they all one bedroom or are they?
No, I have a couple of studios. I don't know the breakdown, but I'd say half ones and half twos, or 2/3 ones and 1/3 two.
Okay.
So again, sir, we saw it as an amenity to the people that live on the property. We're certainly not condoning anyone trespassing on anyone else's property.
I understand, but that's the reality of it,
Sure. As it is an existing condition of the property, and that the swale would interrupt that existing condition, it's certainly something we would
discuss
discuss and certainly discuss with you and your consultants.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to ask that. That's all.
Thank you. So anything further, sir, or Mr. Hildebrand, on Dover One LLC?
I don't believe so.
All right. So Mr. Hildebrand, you're going to be staying with us for the next project?
Yes.
I have a question. Is there a recommendation that you have regarding that bridge? Is there something that you want to put to prevent people from going over altogether?
You mean as the purpose of the swale?
Right.
No, the purpose of the swale is to redirect the water flow, which I was asked to do by the town, not to prevent. If the cost of this swale is the difference between me allowing people to have access, feel free to cancel the swale project and give them access. It's not the reason I'm doing this.
Correct.
No, we understand that. I'm just wondering what you feel should be done other than providing that access point.
If multiple tenants I saw used it as a property, which is what the point that was brought up. I understand, people not everybody drives, and people need to be able to get resource things. And there's a Dollar General right across the street that's really important to my tenants who they go there a lot. But he's the only one who doesn't have a car in the whole development. And if it's just for him, if you tell me I have to do it for some reason,
I'm just curious because, I think if you did add the bridge, then more tenants may want to take that access point.
But nobody does. I mean, there's a walkway now. It's only used by one of my tenants. Everybody else is from the other side of the road but doesn't want to walk around.
Okay. Just asking.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, sir. We'll certainly look to discuss it further.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, we'll move on to the next project, Gardner Dolan. This is at 10 Halls Corners Road. We had a site walk on this property on again Saturday, March 6th, and planning board members were in attendance along with our engineer, Mr. Berger. And Mr. Hildebrand, I see you've brought up the site plan. So if you could just run us through that, and then we'll begin our discussion.
Yeah, so this plan actually has been updated because of the comments that were raised. But just to walk everyone through the scope of the project, it's an existing property in excess of 9 acres, 9.18 acres. There's an existing house, existing tennis court, detached garage, and existing barn structure on the property. The proposal is to renovate the upstairs of the existing detached garage into an accessory apartment to be used by the owner's daughter. And since our meeting and site walk, that is what we're going to call phase 1 of this project. And that will include getting a septic area approved through the health department, providing we do have 4 parking spaces total, I believe 2 for the existing house and 2 for the accessory apartment. As far as phase 1, any disturbances will be related to the septic installation and in the water line installation. No, the footprint of the building will not change. The exterior will not change. It's all an interior fit out. Further down the line, there is plans to convert that existing barn on site to a guest house. But that will be phase 2 of the overall project. But we will keep that in mind when we deal with the health department, because we want to make sure that whatever system we design has adequate capacity and size and space for both structures to be renovated. We are in the process of scheduling witness testing with Dutchess County Health Department. That should be within the next week or so. So once we have the testing, we could submit a formal design to them for approval, for septic approval. I think that was a majority of the questions. The biggest change is breaking out the phases of this project. One, we did receive measurements from the architect floor. So I did a floor area analysis just to show, and this all will be submitted again formally, but since I might as well pop it up and just walk everyone through. Just kind of the balance of what's being converted. The main house isn't changing. We have the garage where we're going to be converting part of that to an accessory apartment. So this table just kind of walks through the balance of the existing structures and proposed uses, just to demonstrate that there's real no, and the use isn't, the floor footprints aren't increasing at all, just kind of a rebalance of the use. And again, all this will be formally submitted.
Okay. All right, thank you, Mr. Hildebrand. So what my first two questions were, what's the existing square footage of the main house and what's the proposed square footage of the accessory apartment? So the main house is 2,700 square feet. And then that second floor of the garage, which would be the one bedroom accessory apartment, would be 750 square feet. That's correct, what I'm looking at?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, and then the barn is 1,332 square feet. So that's the first floor area of the barn, correct? Not as though if it had 2 stories?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So until a formal, yes, I can see what you're saying.
Right. I mean, because you might, as we discussed on the site, maybe you have somewhat of an open area of the barn, but you might have a second floor. So the second floor might not take up the entirety of the footprint of the building. So you wouldn't necessarily just double the square footage, but it would be something likely north of 1,332 square feet.
It would, but I didn't want to venture and just throw a dart at it. So.
Yeah, we're not deciding anything tonight. We're just trying to understand the property. Okay, so we'll be coming back to the square footage of the accessory apartment. I think that's all I have for now. We'll go through the members, see if they have any comments or questions, and then we'll go to the consultants. Member Williams?
No comment.
Thank you, Member Williams. Member LaRobediere?
No comment now, thanks.
Thank you. Member Morosky?
No comments or questions at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Morosky. And Member Villano?
No comments.
Okay, thank you, Member Villano. We'll go to Planner Werner. Mr. Werner?
Sure. Yeah, so one of the main comments from last time was just making sure that the accessory apartment would be within the code limits, which is, 1,000 square feet or 30% of the primary residence floor area. It looks like that's being met. Just looking at the analysis they've done. I think 30% of 2,700 is something like 810.
810.
Yeah, so yeah, we're under that, and it's meeting with one. It's either of those can be met. So that looks like it works. As far as the plan itself, it looks like there were some other edits made. They changed the calling the pond a wetland buffer. The line coming off of the pond, just a water buffer for the septic, which makes more sense to do. And the barn area, it looks like we, based on what the code requires or code says you can do, it looks like you can have, in addition to the accessory apartment, another structure, provided that the acreage is enough to meet, to accommodate the 2 dwellings in addition to the accessory apartment. And I think that it currently does. So I still think we could treat this as 3 units, on the property, which would still be the type 2 SECRA action. Most of the comments from last time still apply. I'll take a look at the revised plan. I think if it looks good, we can do similar to the last application. We can do the referrals out that are required once we have that and enough time to take a look at it. Yeah, I don't think I had any other comments at this time. I would defer to if Victoria sees anything as far as legal, given the complication, it's not too complicated, but there is with the barn and the accessory apartment. It seems like it works from the code, but if there's anything I'm missing on, as far as subdividing or anything like that that I'm missing, feel free to break that down.
Thank you, Mr. Werner. Attorney Polidoro, I will go over to you. Is there sufficient acreage for?
So based on the numbers that we just saw, it appears that this will be processed as 2 single-family homes with 1 accessory apartment. No additional acreage is needed for the accessory apartment, so it appears that there's enough room on this lot for the 2 homes. So I don't see an issue, just based on today's preliminary review. And I agree with Erin on the seeker classification, and once the updated plans are submitted, we can process it. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. And Engineer Berger?
Yes, the comments from the engineer were reflective of our site walk. My only additional comments would be, as the plan gets developed with the septic design, keep in mind the thresholds for the Chapter 65 erosion control. If the design is over a half an acre disturbance or 200 cubic yards, excuse me, a Chapter 65 would be required. It's possible if it's an in-ground system that threshold will not be met. So we'll wait and see upon the design. As was shown on the new plan, you have a phase 1, phase 2. The driveway to the barn would have to be improved to carry a fire truck. That's noted on the map. I think we probably need a detail or specification of how that improvement would be done on the final plan. I believe we also need to see, we do show the 4 parking spaces there. So if the planner is okay with the number of parking, it shows parking may be needed to be improved. If so, just a note of what type of improvements needed. Other than that, I'm okay.
Can
Okay.
you zoom into the area where this
Thank
is
you,
my
Engineer.
first time looking at this for the parking. I know there's probably plenty of room already, but you're just kind of calling out the parking, correct?
Yeah, I was just
Existing
graphically
condition.
showing that, 9 by 18 space could fit. There's, I could squeeze more cars in. There's more parking than just the 4 spaces. I just wanted to justify.
Sure. So that includes 2 in the garage and 2 outside the garage.
Yeah. Yep.
And then for the road going back to the barn, I think that's a good idea to at some point, have more detail on exactly, how wide it is, what the material will be. But it sounds like that's a phase 2 a little further out. So
yes,
just keep that in mind.
Okay.
I'd like to just go back on my comment. I do want a little bit of time to look at this, but if the minimum lot size in the district is 5 acres, I believe you're going to need 10 acres if we're looking at 2 single-family homes. So
That was going to be my follow-up question to you.
oh yeah,
Attorney
sorry, I'm
Polidoro.
trying to look at the code quickly while we're.
Because my understanding is that it's 5 acres in the zone, and so for 2 single-family homes, they would need 10 acres.
Yeah, I believe you're going to need a variance in order to convert the barn into a 2-bedroom.
Or an acquisition of something slightly less than 1 acre.
Mhm.
Yeah, RC is 5 acres.
That would be if the barn is 2 stories, correct? If the barn is designed with 1 story, he may not need that. Is that correct?
No, you can have, well, again, I think I don't want to speak off the cuff too much, but I know that you can have 1 accessory apartment. And so the garage is qualifying as the accessory apartment
Okay.
to the house. And then the question that we just need to sit down and figure out is, what is the barn? Is that a second single-family home?
Sorry, but does the above the garage count as an apartment because there's going to be no kitchen?
There's not going to be a kitchen?
There's not going to be a kitchen?
That's what they said. They said they put maybe like a little fridge and a toaster, but no kitchen.
What's the definition of an apartment?
Oh, I think it needs to have complete facilities. Is that the case, Brian?
I thought it was going to be a full blown apartment. That's why we would, whether they added it later, we'd have to make sure the septic, it was equipped to handle any future expansion. So I think for this purpose, we have to assume it's a fully functioning apartment.
Sure. Otherwise, I guess you could call it a detached bedroom, which I've never really heard of before.
I don't even want, yeah, that'll be,
Let's create new items.
So,
So
So that was the acreage was a concern that I had. It just is a follow-up to what the consultants were saying. And then also just looking at the map and then being on the site. So the existing access driveway is just grass. I mean, it's probably hardened ground, I'm guessing, as they brought in all of that material to build that barn. But so just as you can see on the drawing, and I did notice it when on the site, I think that driveway would have to be extended out to the west a little bit because there's no way a fire truck would try and negotiate with that locust tree that you have
oh, right.
overhanging the driveway. So you may just have to, I don't want to say remove the locust tree, but somehow
No.
take care of that situation. Because I mean, even I think as I walked by it, even a car would get in the tree has grown out over the years, and I think a car would get in the locust tree would be in the way of a car. That, and also maybe even that westward apple tree that you see there. It looked like it was again overhanging where you would expect the vehicle to travel.
Okay,
They
yeah,
be
we can take a
limbed
look
up?
at that.
Or is it the width of the trunk that's the problem?
I think it's just the branches. Again, I don't know. I'm sure you can come up with some solution that works and makes sense.
I think when you go into the design, O'Brien, you're going to move away from the trees so you can put whatever geotextile down you need without hurting the roots of the tree.
Mhm.
So I think when you get into your design of that drive, you're clear, you'll adjust it out just by pure the design methods of what you're going to do to improve the drive.
Right.
I mean,
Okay,
but yeah,
and then just so that the acreage is a newer concern, so we're looking at variances or a variance. I'm just because the owner, I know this conversion was always they were on the fence, so I'm just wondering, was that the likely scenario if that will need an area variance,
so Eric,
or is it a use variance?
call it, yeah, to have 3 units on it.
What
It
could
would
they-
be an area variance.
Okay.
Assuming you have that you have an accessory apartment in the garage.
so what would be allowed for that? The barn's existing. What would they be allowed to do with it if it wasn't going to be a residential unit, given it's already built?
Would just
It'd be
be
a barn.
It could be a barn.
accessory structure,
It could be an accessory structure that's not residential.
right?
It could be a shop, a storage place.
You have to look at the code further to see if it
Yeah,
can be
I was
when you say a shop, you mean like is it like a personal wood shop, not a
Yeah,
shop?
personal wood shop. Yeah,
Oh,
personal,
okay.
The definition of
wood shop,
accessory
or
structure,
mechanic shop, somebody's, garage.
it would be
Um,
defined as an accessory structure, a structure detached from and subordinate to a principal building on the same lot,
It just could not be used as a residential accessory.
right?
Given the lack of having at least 10 acres,
Yeah,
would be
given
my
the
understanding of the code.
acreage. Okay.
And also, since I have the code open here, with the question about the kitchen, well, dwelling unit is defined as a building or portion thereof providing complete housekeeping facilities for one family. And the accessory apartment definition includes a dwelling unit occupying the lesser of 1,000 square feet or 30% of floor space of an owner occupied structure. So it has to meet the definition of a dwelling unit in addition to being an accessory apartment.
So it couldn't just not be the bedroom space for their daughters, which is what they're trying to build. They have to put a kitchen in.
I think we should let them decide what they
Right.
want and then they can come back and propose it.
I understand. I was just trying to give them some direction because in the site walk, they made it very clear to us that they wanted this just to be a place for their children to be for bedrooms.
Okay, yeah, I will confirm what the final decision is from the owner, see what exactly they want. And then if I could maybe reach out to Aaron, just to maybe once I have an idea of what they want, and then if it's not a dwelling unit, we'll take that next step, whatever the next step is.
Would it still have a bathroom?
That'll all come from Mike. I don't know.
Okay.
I think you
But
have
yeah,
to,
so I mean, if it has a bathroom, we'll still have to, see if it gets tricky. It'll need plumbing, but if it's a bedroom, then we still have to do the septic upgrades. So it really comes down to just what we call it.
Attorney Polidoro, would you suggest that they may want to consult the building department as to what may be allowable by the code?
Yeah, I think that once you guys have an idea of what your client wants, you should talk to Don Anderson, because there may be requirements for having living space that have to be met in any event. Also, it makes it hard if they ever want to rent out the apartment in the future. If it's not an apartment, it can't be rented out separately.
All right, and Mr. Hildebrand, I would also suggest that you may want to do some research as to the Town of Dover ZBA and area variances. So in case you're not familiar with, I'm not sure if you are or not. Just
With
I would say
Dover
that to
in
anybody.
particular, no, this is my first project in Dover, so.
Okay. What's your second project, actually?
Oh, true. All at once.
So yeah, I would just maybe do look at the the history of area variances and the Town of Dover ZBA.
Okay.
Okay.
Will do.
All right. So given having heard from our consultants, any other members have any other comments or questions at this time regarding this project? All right. Mr. Hildebrand, do you have any other questions for us at this time?
No. Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thank
good
you.
night.
Good night. All right. Now we're on to new business. Miss City, the country store. Sir, if you could please say your name. I want to say your name correctly. So how would I say?
Nicholas Masidi. Nick is
Masidi.
fine.
All right. And so the property location is 3623 Pleasant Ridge Road in Wingdale, New York. All right, and you're proposing a country store.
Right, like a small shop to sell like fishing and hunting gear and stuff like that. There is one issue that's been raised though since I've started this, which I was told you guys might be able to have the answer, because one way or the other, it's either going to help me or cause me problems. But I've been told since the start that the property is zoned Hamlet residential, and that's what I wanted it to be zoned as. And and I was going to apply for the special use permit under that to have it be a residence slash, I guess, retail or home business, whatever, I don't know, whichever one is the correct term. I've spent, a lot of money doing due diligence and researching it and paying various things in furtherance of that. But the last week, like last minute, like I'm very close to getting the mortgage, I was told that the town was actually incorrect on that and it's zoned commercial. And then I was told by another person at the town, no, it's 100% certain it's Hamlet residential. And I don't know what it is right now. I haven't really gotten a clear answer. They said that I might be able to get this cleared up today. And I don't know where to go. This is my first time dealing with anything remotely like this, and to find the answer.
Okay, so well, welcome. So just to be clear, you don't have any consultant of any kind helping you out with this. You don't have an engineer or planner, an attorney.
No, because I'm not. There's not going to be any structural change to the building.
Okay.
It's just a use issue. I am actually an attorney, although I don't practice in this field. But no, I'm not using anyone.
Okay, and there's no requirement that you have to. I just was asking because most people who come before the planning board do have some kind of representation, whether it be, again, legal, planning, engineering, something along those lines. So my review of the town of Dover maps, and then following up with our consultants, is that the property is in the Hamlet mixed use zone, and that you may have seen it as Hamlet residential because that's what Dutchess County Parcel Access has the zone listed as.
No, that's what I was told by at least two people at the town in the planning office. That's where I got that from.
Okay, so typically we go to the members first to make comments, ask questions, but let's just start with the consultants. We'll start with Attorney Polidoro. Have we confirmed what the zone is for this property? Just for everyone's edification, it's the one that says 886098. And just as, I guess, a short history lesson, this was the old Wingdale Post Office. And then maybe about a decade ago, it was an exotic pet store. And for lately, it's been an apartment, is my understanding. Is that your understanding, Mr. Mesiti?
Yes.
Okay. All right, Attorney Polidoro.
So there was some confusion about the zoning maps. I don't know if Marilyn has the ability to bring it up, but the one from 2017 does show it in the HR. And you can get an official determination from Don Anderson because he does the zoning review. So he would be the one to give you a final determination on that.
Well, to be frank with you, he's the one that told me it was Hamlet residential. And then I've gotten the other engineers, the one that said it was commercial. Then he said it's Hamlet commercial, which I couldn't even find something on that. But I'm so, and then the final thing was that I was told that to come to this meeting and the people here would tell me what it is. All I want to do is find out who has the final say on this and get a determination, because I have a mortgage pending. It's on the last step, and if it's commercial, I'm not going to get it, which is probably going to mean I'm not going to get the property. So, but the whole point of this application that I did was I'm applying for the special use permit. So if it's not Hamlet residential, I'm not really sure why I'm here.
Well, can you explain a little bit, well, maybe Aaron can pull the map up, but can you explain what your proposal is? Are you planning to live there yourself?
Yes, so I'm planning on it being a residence and like a home business. Yes. So it's not going to be 100% commercial.
Residence and a home business.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody see the screen?
Mm-hmm.
And under the Hamlet residential, I don't know if it's called a statute or code or whatever it is, there's certain requirements, like it's got to be certain square footage and things like that, but all of that is permissible. Some of it's permissible by right and some of it's permissible with this special use permit, which is the application I paid for and the application I've submitted. So if it's commercial, I don't know why if it is commercial, that's fine, but then I have to figure out what I need to do from there, and if I can even do what I need to do to turn it into residence so I can finish the mortgage, because I can't pay for it out of pocket. So that's the problem I'm having.
Planner Werner, you have the map up, I believe?
Yeah, can you guys see the zoning map? So this is the one that I have on file that's, it's 2010 is the date. And the property is right here. And can you see the cursor?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, and that's the white, which is the HM. So that's what we were going off of when we talked on the agenda call and the basis.
Right, again, HM, not HR.
Correct.
Okay.
What is HM? I'm sorry.
It's a Hamlet mixed use.
Right here.
Which is also confusing because the RC is also white, so.
Right, well, no, it's kind of like a yellowish.
And is that on that map, is that right next to the river? Because I don't see the river there. I just want to make sure it's the right one.
Erin, I sent you the 2016 map. Did you get that?
I can pull it up. Hold on. I don't know if I got it from you.
Oh, I thought I sent it the other day, but I just sent it again.
You emailed it during the consultant review.
But I just sent it again, so it should be top of your email. So if it's HM, I'm looking through the code. I mean, I still think that there are options here for you. You can have
Well, possibly,
dwellings.
but the problem comes in is that I won't be able to get the mortgage because it's a residential mortgage. So they said if it's not zoned residential, if it's zoned commercial, if it's zoned mixed use, anything besides residential, then that's off the table.
But the zoning district allows residential uses as permitted uses. So
Did they specifically say mixed use? Mr. Nacidi?
I can double back with them, but I'm about 90% sure he said mixed use or commercial. Yes.
because theoretically, there could be single family homes in this district.
Right, mixed use. It could be residential or commercial or possibly both, depending on various conditions. So, Mr. Warner, were you able to bring up the?
Yeah, I found it. Thanks, Victoria. Hang on a second.
Well, I guess, I mean, this is the issue that with this property is if it's HM, HR, H, whatever, it's, I at least need to know. I mean, I'm hoping it's HR because that's what I've been planning for this whole time and that's what's been going on. But I at least need to know so I can go to the bank, and if it is HM, say it's HM, can we still do this or not? And this is I don't know why it's, I know it's a property that's gone back and forth between residents and commercial, and like he said, it was a post office and then it was a exotic pet store, and now it's an apartment, I guess, which to me would mean it's residential. Or am I wrong with that? I don't know.
Yeah, what is going on inside the building doesn't change the zoning for the parcel.
So this is the HM is what it's showing here. It's hard to see, but the parcel is this square shape right here.
If you have that, is that the floodplain like hatching?
Yeah,
that's
that's
over?
the stream corridor overlay. Because the Swamp River is right next to it.
Sure.
So it is HM, and the comment in my memo about the use was just only because in the Dutchess County parcel database, it shows up as commercial use. That's why I raised the question: is this currently someone living here, and are they permitted? Is there a permit CO for residential?
Yeah, I don't own the property, so at this point I'm trying to close out the deal. So I don't know if that's legal or not. It's someone else. It's not really I don't know what's going on. I don't even know if someone's really there. I don't know.
So, Nick, I can't solve all your problems, but I'm happy to talk with the bank's attorney about what the zoning allows and doesn't allow, if that's helpful to you.
I think possibly so are we of the conclusion that it is HM, or we don't know? We still don't, no one knows.
The map was just up. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but it's HM.
It is HM.
Oh, it is HM. Okay. So I have to go back to the code and look at what HM allows. And you're saying that HM does allow it to be a residence, so that means the bank might allow the mortgage to go through. Is that
right?
Correct?
Mixed uses. Just by the nature of the wording, it could be residential, it could be commercial, it could be potentially both. like
Okay.
it sounds like you're trying to do with having a,
Yeah,
commercial in the front and residential in the back. It's almost as though you're taking like a classic taxpayer building that you'd see in the city, and instead of it being commercial on the first floor and residential on the second floor, you're just
Right.
flipping it on its side and having commercial in the front and residential in the back.
So,
That's a mixed use, so.
mhm,
Nick, if you take a look at the memo that I sent around, it kind of summarizes, it doesn't say anything about residential, but if you look at the use table in the zoning code, single-family dwellings are permitted in the HM district. So if this is going to be a home occupation / retail use also, I noted two things. Retail, a retail business not listed elsewhere, which is how it's defined in the use table, is permitted in HM also, but with site plan approval by the planning board. So there was a site plan submitted. It was a sketch plan. There's no real changes to the structure happening except inside. So I'll leave it to the board to decide if it's, if they want to waive the requirements for site plan review.
okay,
And then the home occupation thing, if it meets the definition of that, that's permitted also. But if it doesn't meet those certain requirements, which are spelled out in the memo, for example, if there's going to be more than 2 non-resident employees or more than 30% of the dwelling unit space occupied by that activity, it needs a special permit also. So right
yeah,
now,
no, yeah, I can do what I want to do within those confines, that's fine.
so it's really just, it's a permitted use, subject to site plan review. And if
Mr. Werner, can you, so just two things, I guess. Mr. Masidi, you're familiar with accessing the Town of Dover Town Code on the internet, yes?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Werner, can you tell him what sections he should look at? And then I think just the next step would be for Attorney Polidoro to, if Mr. Masidi is willing to take her up on her offer, to contact the bank attorney. Because it might be that, like you said, you might have to stop here because you can't get the mortgage. Or, I don't want all the consultants and everyone else to just continue reviewing this, and that will just keep costing you escrow money. So, but
Yeah.
Mr. Warner, if you could just tell him what sections you should really.
So it's also in the memo that I sent. I sent him a copy of the memo this morning. But the allowable uses is 145-10.
Okay.
That has all the zoning districts and the uses permitted. And then you also want to take a look at 145-41, which is the home occupations.
Okay.
requirement.
Mhm. Okay. And then I just had another question. The number 4 on the memo that you have, about the county road, this might just be a formality. I don't know. Can you just explain that to me, or what that, so the county, I guess, has to review this now too, or?
Yeah, well, since it's a site plan application,
Mhm.
any site plan application or special permit application, if it comes to that, but it sounds like you might not have that. That's within 500 feet of a county road, requires review by the Dutchess County Planning pursuant to General Municipal Law 239M. It's just a requirement of.
Do I need to do anything in furtherance of that? Do I need to give the county an application, or this is all like
We
you
do
guys
that. We-
take care of
Yeah,
it? Okay.
we refer it out. It's part of the
Okay.
process.
So I need to first figure out what's going on with the bank. Assuming I can still go forward with this, what is the next step with you guys?
Well, if I would say if we have this resolved by Friday, we could possibly continue discussing this at our April 6th meeting. If not, then it would need to be at the meeting that follows, which I believe would be April 20th.
Nick, do you know the floor area currently of the building? Like
In terms of the square footage?
Yeah.
It's a little over 1,200.
Okay, because we had in the application submitted, it said 1125. So based on that.
That might be correct. I might be off.
Okay, so if your country store use is going to be about 337 square feet or less, that
Mhm.
meets the 30% requirement for home occupation. If it's going to be, I think the application said 500-ish, that wouldn't, it would need the special permit. So you might want to just, make sure you know those areas correctly for us get those exact numbers so we can make sure it's compliant.
So if it's 337 square feet, I no longer need the site plan?
You wouldn't need a special permit. You would still need a site plan for a retail use.
Okay.
Right.
Attorney
For a
Polidoro,
home
you wanted to say
occupation.
something, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't need the home occupation special permit.
Okay.
I guess, once you figure out if you can move forward, we can have some offline discussions, if we need to, about how to process this. But I do want to add, that the board should look at your site plan and decide whether that's something that they would find acceptable, or whether you should come back with something better rendered, better drawn.
Okay. You're talking about tonight?
No,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be tonight.
But I mean, it would be good if the board gave you some feedback tonight, but we don't expect you to have anything tonight.
Okay. Yeah, I would love feedback. Absolutely.
So does someone have the,
Do you have to get a survey in order to buy the property?
I don't, but I did have to, because it's in a flood zone, I had to get it's going to require flood insurance, which I'm in the process of getting, and I had to have I forget what it's called, but an engineer find an elevation study, yes.
Yeah, elevations would also have a drawing of the building on the property line, even if it's done using parcel access. I think that will be very helpful for the board as a minimum site plan requirement.
Normally the board, I think the code even requires professionally developed plans, but the board can waive some of those requirements. But it would be better to start with something from a map. So
That's what the elevation certificate would provide. It has as a requirement elevation certificate, you must provide the property line, the boundary location, even if it's from, and then a surveyor will seal it. And that's
well, I'm certainly happy to provide you guys with that. To me, and I'm obviously, this is my first time going through this. I just want to reiterate though too, I'm not doing anything structural to the building. I'm not moving the building. I'm not putting in a bathroom. It's not, I'm going to fix it up, but it's going to be the exact same location it's always been. It's going to be the same square footage. There's not going to be more than 2 bathrooms. So my feeling was this was just going to be a question of usage. But if you guys, I don't know if there's something else, I guess, then maybe I'm not understanding.
Site plan always looks at the layout of a parcel.
Mm-hmm.
Use is part of that, but the board always has to look at whether you have, room for customers to park, whether there's landscaping, that might be something they would waive here, whether there's room for a sign, if you're going to pave the driveway, whether you're paving it in such a manner that it doesn't cause runoff into the road. Those are the kinds of issues that this board is supposed to.
Even if you're not improving buildings, like usually a survey is acceptable for a site plan of something like this, a project like this, that shows the structure and you can point out what's, where approximately the uses are going to be. You can say existing parking area to remain, things like that. It's just, you don't have to meet all the requirements of a site plan that the code has, but that's what Victoria posed the question of whether or not this, what was submitted is enough.
Well, so would the elevation study work or no?
I think it would be something that could be submitted to the board for consideration if it provides all the typical elevation certificate information. There are different levels of elevation certificates that surveyors provide, and some are more detailed than others. So it's a hard to say yes or no as my recommendation, but certainly a starting point to provide to the planning board for consideration, especially if the surveyor does a more thorough elevation certificate than the bare basics. If he does boundary line showing on it, the limits of the floodplain on there, in the physical location as a detailed elevation certificate would show. That's about what are the minimum requirements for a site plan. If it's certainly just a tabular elevation certificate where he only provides the first floor elevation relevant to the floodplain in order to determine the flood insurance rate, that probably would not provide much information to the board.
How about just, taking a clip from parcel access and marking it up with a PDF program, just saying, pointing out parking area, pointing out the building, the square footage and what's proposed. It's kind of like a.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. I mean, that's probably, you're getting at my issue, which is a surveyor is expensive. That's my issue, but that's fine. I can do that. I mean, I know my drawing's not the best, but it is kind of accurate. I mean, there's a big parking area and there's a disabled ramp, a handicap ramp going in and whatnot. So, okay, any other?
So I would think Attorney Polidoro is going to work with you on making that phone call. I would think at this time, you need to figure that out before really we can do anything else. Because if you can't get the mortgage, this is not going to happen, correct?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, if it's possible, which it may not be, you may have to review it further, but is there any feedback on the actual use in terms of like a hunting / fishing type store, or that requires more review?
No, we're just, first discussing this now. So we haven't discussed anything with regard to, about having a country store. So, I like the idea, but again, I think that, that would also have to be a review of the code to see if that is, permissible in that zone. I mean, I believe it would be, but again, it's, so normally what we do at this point is we would schedule a site walk, but I still think makes sense that
I'll talk to the bank tomorrow, and I definitely will get back to you by Friday. I mean, I don't want to be hanging around here any more than you guys do. So I just submit that to Marilyn. Is that where that goes?
What do you want to submit to Marilyn? The new plans?
No, well, I thought I had to check with the bank and see if it's okay and let you guys know by Friday for the next meeting. Did I mishear something?
No, that's right.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Is that the way to let you guys know, though? Is through Marilyn, or is there another?
Yeah, Marilyn is the secretary for the board. So you need to email her by the deadline. What do you say? 2 p.m.?
You said Friday.
Yeah, Friday by noon or 2 p.m. I forgot what we agreed upon.
We would also want the updated plan, the drawn.
Oh, yeah, a drawing
picture
that has a little bit more detail to it. And like Mr. Warner said, a clip from parcel access, and then just some drawing on top of that would, I believe, be sufficient.
So basically, the drawing, the drawing showing the square footage and the parking area, and kind of a breakdown. This part will be the store, and this will be the residential part. Is there anything else I would need to include in that?
We need to understand how much square footage you're dedicating to each use, so we can calculate whether it's a home occupation or whether it's some other kind of mixed use and evaluate it.
Okay. And then, Ms. Polidoro, how do I get in touch with you? Or
you know what? I'll send you an email.
Okay.
I'll send you my cell phone number, and you can call me tomorrow, or we can set up a time to speak to the bank attorney.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Visiti.
Yeah. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you. Okay. Moving on. approval of the March 1st, 2021 minutes. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as written by the secretary. Motion made by myself, seconded by
Second.
Member Williams. Any discussion?
No.
Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of the minutes say aye.
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 Any opposed would say no. Okay, so the minutes have been approved. All right, our next meeting is Monday, April, our next meeting is Monday, April 5th, 2021 at 7 p.m. Any further business before the planning board at this time? All right, I'll need a motion to adjourn. Motion made by myself, seconded by
Second.
Member Morosky. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 We're adjourned.